Loving you was the worst decision I ever made. Emeka, you have ruined my life. I gave you everything, my time, my resources, my body. And yet, today, you stand before me and tell me I am not worthy to be called your own. Thank you. I wish you well. My name is Roseline, and this is my love story. Mama, good evening. Oh, Roseline, my daughter. Good evening, my dear. How are you? I'm fine, Mama. How is Emeka? Emeka just stepped out to fetch firewood from the bush. He'll be back soon. Oh, okay, Mama. I'll wait for him. And Mama, leave the clothes, I'll help you wash them. You are like a mother to me. My daughter, Roseline. Oh, you are too good to me. May God bless you abundantly. I can't wait for Emeka to make money and pay your bride price. You will make a wonderful daughter-in-law. Roseline laughed. Mama, you are funny. Thank you. Just then, Emeka walked in. Obim, you're here. Roseline beamed. Oh, yes, my love. But you told me you would come to see me last night. I waited and waited, but you never showed up. Obim, I'm so sorry. I was exhausted. Remember I told you my friend Chike, who lives in the city, was coming to the village? Oh. Chike, the millionaire exporter. Yes, my love, that Chike. How is he? He's fine. Oh. Emeka's face lit up. Guess what, Obim? Oh, what is it? Tell me. My heart is racing. Obim, we are getting rich. Rosaline's eyes widened. What do you mean? Chike is taking me to the city. Roseline gasped. My love. So very soon, you will become a millionaire exporter. Yes, my love. Roseline smiled, but deep inside, something felt uneasy. May the gods be praised, she whispered. Rosaline's heart swelled with pride as she looked at Emeka. He was finally getting the chance he always dreamed of. This is good news, my love, she said, holding his hands. I know you'll do well in the city. Chike will guide you. Emeka smiled, but his mind seemed distant. Yes. Yes, of course. Mama clapped her hands together. Oh. My son, this is the breakthrough we've been praying for. Roseline, you see. Your patience and love will soon be rewarded. Roseline nodded, forcing a smile. But deep inside, an uneasy feeling settled in her chest. When are you leaving, Obim? She asked. Tomorrow morning. So soon. Chike says I shouldn't waste time. Opportunities like this don't come every day. Roseline swallowed hard. Tomorrow. So suddenly. She had imagined they would have more time, more nights to talk under the moonlight, more days to plan their future. Don't worry, my love, Emeka reassured her, cupping her face in his hands. I will come back for you. Once I settle, I will send for you. Roseline exhaled, nodding slowly. I trust you. 2 months later. Days turned to weeks. Weeks turned to months. Emeka's letters came less frequently. At first, he wrote about how difficult things were in the city, how Chike was helping him find his feet. Then the letters became shorter, colder. Then they stopped altogether. Roseline still visited Mama often. She helped with the chores, fetched water, and ensured the old woman had everything she needed. One evening, as she pounded yam in the compound, a neighbor approached, her voice carrying a whisper of gossip. Roseline, have you heard? Roseline wiped sweat from her brow. Heard what? Emeka is getting married. The peso slipped from Rosaline's fingers, landing with a dull thud on the ground. Married. Her voice was barely a whisper. Yes, the woman continued. To Chike's younger sister. The wedding is next week in the city. Rosaline's world spun. Mama stepped out of the hut just in time to see Roseline stagger backward, gripping her chest. "My daughter, what is it?" Roseline looked at Mama, her eyes filling with tears. "Emeka," she whispered. "He has moved on." Roseline stood frozen, the weight of the news crushing her like a heavy stone. Emeka, the man she had loved, sacrificed for, and waited for, was marrying another woman. Not just any woman, Chike's younger sister. Mama's voice trembled. "Roseline, what did you say?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she turned to Mama, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mama, Emeka is getting married to someone else." Mama gasped, her hands clutching her chest. "No. No, this cannot be. My son would never do such a thing." The neighbor, now enjoying the drama, added, "It's true, Mama. The wedding invitation is circulating in the city." Roseline felt her legs weaken, and before she knew it, she crumbled to the ground. That night, Roseline lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Memories of Emeka flooded her mind, his promises, his soft whispers of forever, the way he had once looked at her as if she was his whole world. A bitter smile formed on her lips. What a fool I was. By morning, the entire village knew. Women shook their heads in pity. Men whispered among themselves. Some said Emeka had been blinded by wealth. Others said Roseline had been foolish to wait. For 3 days, she stayed indoors, refusing to eat. Mama came to see her, crying as she held Rosaline's hands. "My daughter, please eat something. Don't let this break you. You are stronger than this." Roseline looked at Mama, her heart aching not just for herself, but for the woman who had trusted her son. "Mama, he left us both," she whispered. Mama wiped her eyes. "The gods will judge him." On the 5th day, just as Roseline was gathering the strength to move forward, a young boy from the village ran to her hut, waving an envelope. "Sister Roseline. A letter from Emeka." She hesitated before taking it. With trembling hands, she tore it open. "My dearest Roseline, I know you must have heard the news by now. I don't know where to start, but please believe me when I say I never meant to hurt you. Things changed when I came to the city. Chike's family helped me, and in return, I had to marry his sister. It was not my choice, but it was the only way to secure my future. I hope one day you can forgive me. Emeka." Roseline let the letter fall to the ground. She closed her eyes, inhaling sharply. He didn't even have the courage to say goodbye in person. Her hands clenched into fists. She wiped her tears and stood up. "If Emeka can move on, so can I." She stepped outside, the sun shining down on her, a silent promise that her story was far from over. Roseline took one last look at the letter before tossing it into the fire. She watched as the flames consumed Emeka's words, just as he had consumed her love and discarded it. Mama sighed beside her. "My daughter, what will you do now?" Roseline straightened her back, wiping the last of her tears. "Mama, I will not cry anymore. Emeka made his choice, and now I must make mine." Mama nodded. "That's my strong daughter. The gods have something better for you." Roseline wasn't sure if the gods had any plans for her, but one thing was certain, she would never beg for love again. 3 weeks later, Roseline packed her few belongings and set out for the city. She had no grand plan, no rich friend like Chike waiting to help her. But she had something far more powerful: determination. She arrived in Onitsha, a bustling city filled with noise, traders, and opportunities. With the little money she had saved, she rented a small room and found work as a seamstress in a local tailor shop. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, she built a name for herself. People admired her skill and precision, and soon, wealthy customers began to take notice. One evening, as she was closing her shop, a black SUV pulled up in front of her. The driver stepped out and opened the door. A tall, well-dressed man emerged, his deep voice cutting through the evening air. "Excuse me, are you the Roseline everyone is talking about?" She hesitated. "Yes." "Who are you?" He smiled. "My name is Chief Obina. I need a personal tailor, someone who can design outfits for me and my wife." Roseline blinked. A personal tailor? For one of the wealthiest men in the city? The gods, it seemed, had not forgotten her after all. Months passed, and Roseline flourished. Her designs became the talk of the town. She expanded her shop, hired assistants, and even saved enough money to buy her own home. One day, as she was fitting a client, the door to her shop opened. She looked up, and her breath caught in her throat. Emeka stood there. Dressed in an expensive suit, he looked different, richer, older, but his eyes held the same pleading look she had seen in his last letter. "Roseline," he whispered. She took a slow breath, steadying herself. "What are you doing here?" He swallowed hard. "I heard about you, how successful you've become. I needed to see you." She folded her arms. "Why?" "To remind me of how you left me. To see if I'm still broken." Emeka shook his head. "No, Roseline. I came to say I'm sorry. I made a mistake." She laughed softly, but there was no warmth in her voice. "A mistake?" "No, Emeka. You made a choice. And so did I." He stepped closer. "Roseline, I miss you. My marriage, it's not what I thought it would be. I should have fought for us." Rosaline's heart did not race. Her hands did not tremble. She looked at him, the man she once thought was her whole world, and felt nothing. "You should go home, Emeka," she said firmly. "Your wife is waiting for you." He looked at her, searching for something in her eyes. But there was nothing left to find. Roseline turned away, adjusting the fabric on her mannequin. Emeka sighed and walked out, his shoulders heavy with regret. She did not watch him leave. For the first time in a long time, she felt free. Several months passed since Rosaline's final encounter with Emeka. She had long buried her past, focusing solely on her work and the life she had built. The city of Onitsha had become her home, and her reputation as a talented seamstress had grown far beyond her expectations. But despite her success, something was still missing. She had never allowed herself to truly open her heart again. One sunny afternoon, as she was at the market gathering fabric for a new project, Roseline felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned around, expecting it to be one of the many vendors she had grown familiar with over time. But instead, a stranger stood before her. A tall, broad-shouldered man, with a warm smile and deep-set eyes that seemed to hold a quiet strength. "Excuse me, are you Roseline?" he asked, his voice calm but confident. "Yes, that's me. Can I help you?" Roseline asked, her brow furrowing slightly. The man smiled. "I've heard about your work. My name is Daniel. I'm opening a new business in the city, and I was hoping you could help me with some custom suits for my team." Rosaline's curiosity piqued. "I'd be happy to help, but I'm not sure I can take on large orders at the moment. My schedule is packed." Daniel nodded understandingly. "I completely understand. But I believe in supporting local talent. Perhaps we could discuss the details over dinner. No pressure, just a friendly conversation. I'd love to hear more about your journey." His kindness, mixed with his undeniable presence, left Roseline feeling unexpectedly intrigued. After a brief pause, she agreed. The evening arrived, and Roseline found herself sitting across from Daniel at a cozy restaurant. The atmosphere was soft, lit by the glow of candles that flickered gently on each table. As they talked, she discovered that Daniel was not only successful but also humble, with a deep passion for supporting local businesses and giving back to the community. His kindness reminded her of the qualities she had once sought in love, but with none of the pretense or games. They laughed over stories of their childhoods, their favorite foods, and dreams of the future. By the end of the meal, Roseline felt a warmth in her heart that she hadn't experienced in years. "You've had an incredible journey," Daniel said softly, as they sipped the last of their drinks. "I admire your resilience. You're not just a survivor, you're thriving." Roseline smiled, feeling a sense of pride she hadn't allowed herself to feel before. "Thank you, Daniel. It hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it." He leaned forward slightly, his eyes locking with hers. "I can see it. You're strong, and you deserve happiness. Maybe you'll find it again. In more ways than one." Her heart skipped a beat, but Roseline remained composed. She had been hurt before and had sworn off allowing her heart to be vulnerable again. Yet, in the presence of Daniel, something felt different. As the weeks passed, Daniel continued to support Rosaline's growing business, placing large orders for his company and encouraging others to do the same. Their friendship grew deeper, built on mutual respect, shared interest, and, slowly, a deepening affection. One day, while Roseline was reviewing some sketches in her workshop, Daniel appeared at her door, holding a bouquet of flowers. He smiled, his eyes sparkling with warmth. "For you," he said softly, handing her the flowers. Rosaline's heart fluttered, but she didn't hide her surprise. "Daniel, this is unexpected." He took a step closer, his voice gentle. "I've admired you for a while now, Roseline. Not just for your talents, but for your strength. You're someone worth knowing. And I'd like the chance to see where this could go." Roseline looked into his eyes, the memories of the past still fresh but no longer as painful. She had come a long way since Emeka, and now, for the first time, she felt ready to open herself to the possibility of love again, true love. She smiled, a soft but genuine smile that reached her eyes. Maybe it's time for a new beginning. And with that, Roseline took a chance on love once more.